Tom asks, at a high level, what do you think would be an appropriate framework for assessing climate risk from an exposure standpoint in the high confidence region perils you discussed? That's a really interesting question. So you can think of SCS as an example. People say SCS losses are increasing, of course, in the last 2 years. I know, I think 2 years ago, I want to say a year and a half ago, it was $70 billion, and SCS was the highest loss of any peril in the world. There's a lot of questions on whether that's a climate signal, which most people think it is not, or is it just that we're building in more areas? So think about Atlanta expanding and expanding and expanding. If you have more surface area for hail to fall on, that means your losses are going to increase. So as you increase the exposure, you're also, of course, increasing the loss. So I think that's a really interesting question and one I haven't thought about deeply enough. But essentially, one could do a lot of different studies where you could just take the current climate, and that's what the great thing about cat models is. Cat models are made independently of where the exposure is. That's actually the whole point of it, right? Is that actuaries can't model those cities outside of Atlanta because they didn't used to exist. There's no claims history there. A tree didn't fall in the woods because no one was there to observe it, kind of a situation. So I do think that using cat models is actually almost the best way to do this because you could make notional portfolios, assuming changes in land, and run the models before and after to see how those things could affect insurable properties, as an example. I think that bears more thought than that quick off the top of my head answer, but that's sort of my immediate answer to that question, and I have to think about it a bit more. I think that's an interesting topic, but it's also what insurance companies are already doing a lot of times to say, well, do I want to build more in this area, or they get a larger portfolio in area X versus area Y? You can run those analyses and figure out how it changes your portfolio's EP curves, because the correlation, of course, matters in all this as well. And that's again where cat models are really perfect for climate change analysis, because it helps with frequency, severity, and the correlation of risks. And we're really the only models that I'm aware of in the financial industry that do a good job of modeling all three of those really important parameters. So great question.